Thank you very much. But I'd just like to begin by saying good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all participants and presenters who have joined us today. We're delighted to have such excellent participation for this APEC workshop series exploring innovation in digital tourism for MSMEs post-COVID-19. My name is Bonnie Rivendell. I'm a Program Director at the Australian APEC Study Centre, RMIT University, and I will be introducing today's session. Firstly, I would like to begin with an acknowledgement of Australia's Indigenous people. Performing an acknowledgement is an important part of the path towards reconciliation within the Australian community. And as such, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the East Kulin Nations, the Boonwurrung and Wurundjeri people where I'm speaking from today, and pay respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I would also like to acknowledge elders from all the lands and language groups across Australia and all other APEC economies. And now for a few housekeeping matters. Please mute your microphone when in this session. You can enter any questions or comments into the chat box on the right side of the screen. And there is a raise hand function under the participant list that you may like to use for spoken questions or comments during the workshop. To create an optimized viewing experience, we suggest you utilize the stack or side-by-side layout options. And please also note that this session will be recorded and the recording as well as the slide deck and videos will be available after the event. Our facilitator is Stephen Joyce, who most of you will have met yesterday. Stephen is a digital innovation educator who has been working with tourism MSMEs across the Asia Pacific for many years. I'm very much looking forward to the agenda he's compiled for today. Over to you, Stephen.
Thanks for that, Bonnie. Welcome to everyone. So we made a solid start yesterday exploring overviews of issues arising from the digitalisation of tourism and the effect of COVID-19 in shaping our transition to the many new ways of working digitally. As I say, we have a very full agenda today of excellent panel members and a masterclass in digital. So I'm keen not to waste too much time in setting up an overview. However, I will say that today we want to focus on MSMEs. Particularly, we want to set them up for success. We want to explore how to enable a successful digital presence and what it is about digital experiences that we need to understand as supporting bodies. I hope that our journey today will take us from the smallest operators through to an exploration of the key aspects of the tools in the digital world. In our masterclass, we're approaching this from two contrasting viewpoints. One, exploring the wider world of digitalisation and how larger organisations view its complexities. And secondly, we return to a more focused view on how these tools are used to support small tourism operators. We hope that by having this sort of dual vision of looking at things, that it helps us both as organisations and economies to think about the ways that we can support MSMEs in the best ways possible, but also to not forget the wider ramifications of what a digital footprint looks like and how much work it can take to really support our organisations to deliver the full gamut of possibilities. So we're going to get straight into the panel now. Exploring digital footprints, what does this mean for tourism? We've got three live panellists, if you like, for this particular event, and one video that we'll be hearing from. Miss Fabienne Wintle, Fabi as she's known to people, is a noted digital strategist who empowers business owners and their staff to make the most of internet technology. She's an advocate for digital self-sufficiency, and her hands-on approach has given the tools and knowledge to thousands of small and large operators to excel in the tourism industry. She's also the co-founder of Tourism Tribe, which is an online community of 5,000 businesses. Dr. Madelene Blaer is a lecturer in the graduate tourism program at Monash University. Her research expertise is in tourism and the media and digital technology applications. She's interested in how these can support and intersect with sustainable and responsible practices in travel and tourism. During COVID-19, she happened to find herself conducting research on a tourism project involving live streaming penguins. How could we resist finding out about such a project? We'll be finding out more about that soon. And The final panel member is Carly Clark. She's the business owner and manager at Splitters Farm, an ecotourism business and safe haven to over 180 rescue animals and counting. She also sits on the Bundaberg Tourism Board of Directors and is an experienced marketing superstar with a demonstrated history of working in the tourism events, university sector and banking industry. So to get this session rolling, we're going to actually begin with a video that fills you in about Splitters Farm, tells the story of one small business facing up to COVID-19. So thanks, Kevin.
Hi, I'm Carly Clark and I'm the owner of Splitters Farm. Splitters is a 160-acre property about 10 minutes north of Bundaberg. We purchased it in 2017. Really, we just wanted a bit of land to raise some cattle on and raise our kids. We've got 5 kids between us. And yeah, we just wanted to give them the opportunity to grow up on rural property like we both did when we were kids, and all the benefits that brings. Pretty soon after we purchased the property, we started taking rescue animals in. Bundaberg's pretty much been in drought for a few years now, and a lot of farmers had to come off the land and couldn't afford to keep their livestock fed. So we started taking animals in mainly because of drought. These days they come to us for any number of reasons. It's neglect and abuse, council confiscations. We've even had women dropping animals off on their way out of town because they're fleeing domestic violence. So it doesn't matter what the reasons are. We started taking them in a few years ago. So pre-COVID, we were working full-time, running weekend tours, looking to expand the property into accommodation. I had just taken a really flexible job 2 weeks prior to COVID that was going to allow me to be on the farm and work a bit more from home so we could get the project up and running. We had just applied for our bank loan to the bank, and then all of a sudden COVID hit. So we effectively pivoted for a while to stay open for our weekend tours, and then obviously, like every other tourism business, that ended as well. During COVID, I like to say we struggled a bit mentally. We had all these goals and all these long-term plans that we were really working fairly ambitiously to achieve, and all of a sudden that just all came crashing down. I guess for us, the bank then just said no. Well, they didn't say no, they said not now with regards to the loan, and we kind of took COVID as an opportunity to do what we could around the farm. I effectively lost the job that I had just received that was going to create a more flexible environment for me to work in. And I guess effectively we really just had to look at our life and reprioritise our plans moving forward. During COVID, we threw ourselves into the farm full-time. We raised money initially to support the animals, because the hardest thing for us was we didn't want to have to sell any animals that had been entrusted to us. So we raised money through Facebook. We reached out to people every day through Facebook Lives so that people could actually connect with us and vice versa. It was probably the only time we would have condoned people being on screens and technology to connect, which changed the whole model of how we actually see screens. We were always trying to get kids to get their hands dirty and get off screens, and then this was like the one exception. So we increased our social media following during COVID something like 700 or 800%. It was incredible. People were really looking for an outlet, and we connected with people through these farm tours we were running each day. So we would candle eggs one day, or we would do a tour and explain the benefits of having guinea fowl as natural pest controllers, or we would brush the horses and talk about the stories of the animals that we've taken in. So then post-COVID, we made the decision not to go back and kill ourselves working full-time and trying to run the farm on weekends. So we now open 7 days a week. Most of our tours are self-guided, so it allows people to, at their own pace, tour the farm and discover the benefits of being out here in fresh open air and fresh open spaces. And we opened with just the biggest supportive following that we could have ever imagined. What does the future hold for Splitters? Well, we're in the process of going for eco certification. We really want to be the first tourism park that runs completely off-grid. It's a massive thing for us. We really want to be sustainable and show how an agribusiness can work in harmony with its natural environment. As far as the expansion of Splitters Farm goes, we, off the back of COVID, had such a successful following that we were able to go back to the bank, hand on heart, and say, look, this model is going to work. So we have been successful in securing bank funding and a grant to progress our accommodation side of things. We have just launched this week our 5-star offering, 8 amazing deluxe safari tents, which we are so very proud of. We are in the process of building a camp kitchen, and look, as far as down the track goes, we would love to build an on-site cafe. We've got plans for a produce store, a conference facility, and we really are looking at options to become a dual attraction and maybe couple with some kind of culinary and beverage experience. So lots of big plans for Splitters. All of the animals will take along for the ride, and yeah, stay tuned.
Thanks for the fantastic video, Carly. It's really great to be able to just get a bit of an overview of that whole story. Before we just get into the questions and conversation, I'll just remind our participants, if you could have your mic on mute when you're not speaking. There seems to be some sounds coming through, so we'll just see if we can fix that up. So, Carly, I suppose my first question to you might have been, did you write up plans of a social media process or work with tourism agencies to build up your tactics? That might have been my question if I knew that you were a beginner marketer. But as you're a superstar, I imagine that there might just be some method behind your approach. So maybe if you could just tell us a little bit about how you, go back and take us through this journey, and particularly how you decided to use your social media approach that you did.
Sure. So I guess when we were looking at, I should say thank you very much for having me, first of all, and thank you everyone for dialing in. I guess, yeah, I do have a background in digital media across a variety of industries, and, you know, the methodology remains the same, but I guess when we were starting up, you know, we had this 160-acre farm. We wanted to turn into a farm stay. You've got to have a fairly good business case to do that. So we did, with the digital grant that came out a few years ago, the $10,000, we used that to actually do a lot of customer journey mapping and working out what audiences we could attract through diversity of product. So we did that. We used that $10,000 to do a lot of that work. One, to establish a really good and solid marketing plan, an overarching marketing plan, but also to understand what our key messages and brand messages were going to be to particular audiences. I think with digital, we have a real opportunity to really target into certain audiences rather than kind of just that shotgun approach. So, you know, we have that real opportunity to drill down and talk to audiences. During COVID, I think we pivoted that much. We were just reacting to whatever was happening. I think a lot of people were just getting their ducks in a row in terms of what they could do, what they couldn't do, how they were remaining open, how they were being safe, how they could protect their staff and customers. That I think we just kind of winged it for a lot of it, and there was nothing wrong with that. I think we all needed to be very agile and very flexible during that period. Off the back of that, we have revisited our overarching marketing plan, and we still do a lot of organic Facebook and a lot of, you know, we still have a lot of those touch points. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. So, I mean, tell us about your incredible Facebook Live project, really. So where did you start? How many? You obviously didn't have as many followers at the start. And what do you think were the key drivers that actually brought so many people in and allowed you to increase your market, your growth so much in such a short period of time?
I think for us, you know, when COVID first hit and we were going to be shut, we knew it was coming. We were all panicking. We were all like, oh, what are we going to do? Stay open? How are we going to make money? How are we going to, you know, effectively save the farm? I think my first post on Instagram was me sitting in the car with my 8-year-old eating ice cream because I just lost my job. And it was kind of like, hey, you know, if you've got no job and you don't know what's coming next, just go out there and eat ice cream. But I think I really sat down and had to get my head straight. I think a lot of people during that stage had a like cotton wool in their head. They didn't know what to do first. For us, it was about family. It was about saving the animals. We didn't want to part with any of the animals we'd taken in because that was not their owners' expectations when they were given to us, that we were just going to go and sell or give away their animals. So, you know, a lot of people come back and visit their animals here, and we wanted to maintain that. But it was quite obvious that we were not going to be able to, I guess, make money off tours in a live sense because there was so much content out there. So we basically just said, well, what's the second most important thing? And that was the support of the local community, followers, getting followers and getting loyal followers. And we started doing Facebook Lives, and the very first Facebook Live we did, I think, was very much me just walking them around the farm, doing what I normally do, just showing people guinea fowls sitting on nests. And I think we talked about COVID, and we talked about how people are now homeschooling, and hey, this was their opportunity at 10 o'clock each day to connect with us, see me pulling my hair out, knowing that they weren't alone because they were probably at home doing exactly the same thing. I think in one of my lives, my 2-year-old peed his pants in the orchard, and my 8-year-old was screaming. And, you know, there was a lot of that. Do I post that or do I not post that? And I think it was all about being real, being authentic, and that sense of connection, no matter how distant everyone seemed during that period.
Yeah, I think we've talked a lot about this yesterday, but we're going to talk a lot about it today, how important the message of being authentic and focusing locally is an important one at this time of so many lockdowns and things. As markets come back, that might be slightly different. The third thing that I think I really noticed looking back over your Facebook feeds and getting an idea of where you've come from is your persistence. And what really hit me about that was that I could see the number of viewers that you'd had on different days, and nothing put you off. You weren't deterred on the days when you had really small viewers. And consequently, because of that persistence, it just kept growing, and it seemed to really pay off. Would you say that that was a big part of how you coped as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, mentally, we all took a really big hit. And when you don't have visitors on your farm or at your attraction, when you're used to greeting people through those gates every day, what do you do? And having that set itinerary, knowing that even though people weren't maybe connecting at 10 o'clock, but they would go back and rewatch it, was definitely important. And I think making sure that we, you know, downloaded those episodes and then put them on YouTube as well, having that multi-platform, you know, so people could, because not all people are watching Facebook and vice versa. So making sure that there's multiple avenues for people to view that content was definitely important as well.
And the final question I'd ask for the moment, obviously we might get to more questions later on, is in terms of, you know, then you lost the support of the bank initially, but then you managed to bring them back on board. Do you think that having a social media presence actually helped with that argument to bring the bank back on board and continue expanding?
Absolutely, but more for us, I think the bank were just kind of like, no, we're putting this on hold. This project, especially, I mean, the tourism, you know, debatably took the worst hit of any other industry during COVID. But the bank kind of said, yeah, not now. For us, though, it allowed us to really drill down into and be an influencer over, I would say a lot of grants came out. People were kind of throwing money around at the end. We're not through COVID, but towards, you know, how do we support industry and all that sort of thing. And we were very vocal in saying we were a shovel-ready project. a lot of grants come out that really, would you spend the money if it was your own money? And that question comes up a lot. We were, you know, we needed CapEx money. We needed CapEx dollars to fund our project, to get it to that next stage, so we effectively could put, you know, bums in jobs. And that's what we did. And for us, having a great social media following, having amazing local support and community support through digital, definitely assisted us in proving our case that we were a project worth funding, both through the bank and through you know, state and federal government. So it was great.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Carly. I'd like to bring Fabi from Tourism Tribe into the conversation now. Because Tourism Tribe works with such a variety of MSMEs and also in conjunction with larger tourism bodies. I suppose as the turndown from COVID-19 persisted, Fabi, did you see many examples of remotely located micro businesses attempting to pivot during 2020?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me, and hi everyone. So what we've seen at the very start of COVID is suddenly, I mean, the Australian businesses we work with, because being in Australia, suddenly had time. You know, that there was, obviously there's all the refunds and getting organised, but after that there was time to think and not the distraction of the customers, which is, for us, it's just the perfect situation, because we can really hone in on these skills that generally have been put at the very bottom of the to-do list, because of a lot of the operators we work with are the small ones who feel they're not tech savvy to make the right tech decisions. But what we constantly try and remind these businesses is technology is just a tool. You know, you got used to the telephone when it came out. But what is really important, and that's what Carly demonstrated, is that she had really clear business objectives. And then she used the appropriate technology. And obviously with the experience that you have with digital, it would have been easier, but she used the right technology to deliver her message. And what we've seen is that the successful businesses have really not let go of digital and said, all right, I'm going to focus right there and then. And we ran pretty much, you know, training programs overnight from when COVID shutdown was announced. And we saw the operators were like, wow, now I've actually got time to concentrate and make this happen, because it doesn't just happen overnight. And you can't suddenly learn how to manage your website or SEO or Facebook in 2 hours. You've really got to set some time to let it sink in. And if you've got that fear of technology, it makes it really harder. So the businesses that have done really well are the ones that realize this technology thing is just a tool. I've got my personas, I know my market, but I know that if I want to be really efficient in this new world and be able to pivot, I need to learn how to use these tools. Because paying someone else, like I've done until now, and putting like my website just like right there on the side and on in the heart of my business is not possible anymore. And we've seen time and time again, up till, you know, last week, talking to businesses that like, oh no, I pay someone for SEO, just suddenly their website crashed. They don't know what's happened. Oh, I'll pay them for backup. Oh, Fabi, I've realized I paid them for backups, but nothing's happened in the last year. I don't have any backup. I can't afford to run business like this anymore. And the other thing that Carly mentioned as well that I love hearing is she's done the Facebook Lives, but she's downloaded the videos and also put them on YouTube. And you really can't not see YouTube or Facebook or platforms. You can't see them as your own platforms. You've got to make sure that everything is across different channels, and your website is the only digital asset that you own. So having a good understanding of how that website works, how to be able to update itself, to update it, add new elements, add YouTube videos. These are the businesses that have done that have survived, and being able to pivot really quickly and launch new programs without thinking, oh, well, I'd like to do it, but I don't know how to update and a new tool on my website, you know. So these tools need to be like bread and butter. And once you've taken the time to be able to work with these tools, everything else is just as easy as it would be.
I think this is one of the key things about digitalisation, and I will keep coming back to this over these few days, is that it actually is changing the way that all businesses work. And because of the way the tools become easier to use or more accessible or more eponymous and needing to be used, people really do start to learn how to use them because they need to. And in fact, I went out to one of your clients. This is, exactly all the things that you've just been talking about are really well highlighted. So we went across to Serena Eldridge from Grampians Tourism in Northwest Victoria, Australia. They called in Tourism Tribe to help support their MSEs. So we'll have a look at this interview that I conducted with her last week to examine her role in supporting and developing the tourism partnerships across 4 local government partners, 150 plus tourism industry members, organisation and key tourism marketing bodies to enhance and diversify the visitor experience within the Grampians region.
A lot of people think about the Grampians and they think about the national park, but realistically the tourism region is far broader than that. So it takes in 4 local government areas in Western Victoria, and then down the other way, to Hamilton. So you're getting close to the South Australian border as well. So when you look at that sort of centre patch that we look after, it's a huge area. We're a pretty small team, 10 staff total, and only 2 of us are full-time. A lot of tourism businesses, most of them would be, I would say, sort of small mum and dad or family businesses, and they can be across all sorts of sectors. So there's a lot of accommodation, retail. It's a really broad product offering, but the national park, the Grampians National Park, would really be the centrepiece of that. And we do, in our messaging, we highlight, wide open spaces and the natural attractions of the area as the main draw card to get people to the Grampians. Then, of course, COVID. Bang, work from home. Operators that started to email us going, hey, about that post you put up, I've had a cancellation. And then it was just this flood of messages saying, hey, everyone's cancelling. Actually, we did probably underestimate the COVID situation. I think we really just went into a bit of shock at that time. We, as an industry body, we started just communicating out what our operators had to do. And we used, that was all digital, but it had to be digital. So we had to make sure that we were using, EDM, we were using social media, we were using our website to then pull in all the relevant information, because I think, for tourism operators, there was information coming from everywhere. And depending on what sector of the industry you're involved in, whether it's hospitality or accommodation or retail or whatever it might be, there was stuff coming from everywhere, and we really had to consolidate that for our operators. But once everyone knew where they stood and everything was locked down, then we went out to them and said, okay, what is this situation highlighting for you in terms of gaps in your professional development or gaps in your understanding of, things that you need to do better, basically. What came back from most of the operators that responded was digital marketing. And we qualified that in the questions that we asked. We're saying when we say digital marketing, we're not just talking about setting up a Facebook page. Do you understand Google Analytics? Have you even claimed your Google My Business? Really simple stuff that if you're a larger organisation and you've got a digital marketing person set aside, to do this full time, easy for you. But as I say, a lot of these are mum and dad operators who may have even bought an accommodation property as a pre-retirement plan. They had no idea on some of this. So reputation management, well, a lot of people roll their eyes when you talk about that, but some of them had never even heard that terminology. So search engine optimization, all those things. So that was a real highlight for us. And some of them don't have online booking. It's call me to make a booking. We've got a lot of little boutique wineries, and they probably were not set up as well as they would have liked for e-commerce to start selling products that way. And some of those were even just tickets. Hey, buy a ticket now for Grampians helicopters and then use that when you can come back out into the regions. We certainly saw a lot of help out of Victorian Tourism Industry Council. We saw a lot of information coming from them about opportunities for operators. Some of the local government partners, as I said, either ran Zoom workshops or offered rebates or offered assistance in setting up websites, because believe it or not, some of our operators, little operators, but some of them didn't even have a well-working website. COVID just highlighted how important that was, because no matter how much we might say to people, having an Australian Tourism Data Warehouse listing is so important. Having an operational website is really important. Making sure it's mobile friendly is really important. COVID, all of a sudden they're like, oh, I understand now. I see what you're saying. Because if you've got people locked down at home and they're looking for a bit of travel inspiration, what do you offer? During COVID, there was a lot of online resources, and sometimes it was death by Zoom. We certainly made people aware of opportunities for training. But what we did do to deliver something to operators across the 4 local government areas, we said, okay, here is an opportunity. We can see that you're struggling with this. So we called in the team at Tourism Tribe and said, this is what we want to deliver. And we want it to be far more than a social media thing. We want it to cover off analytics, reputation management. And we needed it to be, because they're small business operators, these are the guys who are booking people in. These are the guys who are doing all of it. They're cleaning the rooms. They're doing the maintenance. You can't have them sit in front of a computer for a whole day to do this. To get time out of their business is really hard. So it needed to be in little chunks that they had the time to do it, but they could also digest it. We needed to build their confidence, because I think that's a real issue here. A lot of these people are like, I don't want to touch my website. I don't know anything about it. So we had to give them confidence to use the tool, saying you can't really break it, and educate them in saying it doesn't mean that you've got to sit in front of your computer all day, every day, responding to these things. Digital technology can actually make life a little bit easier. If not all your bookings are coming via the phone, that might actually be a good thing, because you've got a SiteMinder that will manage your bookings and your room allocations and so forth. So we had a couple of operators actually say to us, I've tried, in week 1, they're like, oh, I tried some of those things and the result really was pretty well instantaneous. They said to us, I can see that it's better already, and it was just small things. I think there are some positives out of it. People, when I go around now visiting operators, people are far more willing to try something new. They just had a go. Well, let's try it and see how it works. So they've been dabbling in videos on their Facebook Live and things that they just would never have done, or thought that they needed a professional to come in and do. It's highlighting, particularly around some of that social media stuff, it's about the authenticity. You are the face of this business. The business is about you. Now, that property can be distributed by an operator in India or in China or the UK. They can participate in these distribution models that previously they've not had access to. Digitisation of the tourism industry has just potentially made every operator a global operator. And again, COVID just highlights that even more, because they can see how that impacts their business. So I think that's a really interesting development. Out in our area is, believe it or not, reliable internet. That is a real barrier. So that provides challenges of its own, so when you start talking to people, trying to encourage them to up their digital skill, some of them have actually said to me, Serena, what is the point of that? I can't even get reliable internet, so why do I need to worry about it? I think the biggest barriers are resources, as we've talked about, time, staff, and financial resources. Staff is a big one, for them in terms of resources. And if they don't feel that they have time to do this, then finding someone in their team that will. Is there a member of your team that you could get to do this? There may be someone there, someone younger, who would love to do your Facebook page and love to do your Instagram feed. I think if you ask to them, they would say, oh, no, we're okay with that. We change our password. Or having said that, they probably don't change their passwords. They've probably got the same password for every account. I think they would be very conscious of it in terms of their, say, financial, banking, that kind of thing, online banking. They'd be very aware of it there. But I think, in someone hacking, say, their social media or that sort of thing, no. I think a lot of them are probably not as familiar or aware on how to protect probably their online particularly around reputation and bookings, that kind of thing. I had one operator, they purchased the business and someone else was running the Google My Business for the previous owners, and that was not sort of handed over to the new owners. So all of a sudden they find that their online Google My Business listing is in the hands of somebody else. Now, they didn't know who that was until I get this thing saying, hey, you've not paid us for 2 years, you need to pay us this amount. And they're like, well, no, actually, we can do that ourselves. And then all of a sudden, the whole thing falls in a heap. The person who was running the Google My Business page took it down, removed all the information. And then all of a sudden, your business is showing up on Google as permanently closed. So if you're a business and you're running Instagram, Facebook, Google AdWords, all those things, it's a whole audit. That's a whole other part of the business. It's not now just a case of buying the 8 rooms and people driving in and out and you clean the rooms. It's all this other intangible stuff that goes with it. And how do I get access to that? I think that's probably the big one, you know, particularly when you see businesses selling all those parts of your digital footprint that you need to take in as part of that business sale, and then they don't know where to go with that. I still have operators emailing me, Serena, is this a phishing email? Is this a scam? You know, so if some of them struggle to identify what is a legitimate booking versus phishing emails, you know, that is a challenge in itself. But really, I don't think it comes back to the technology so much. It comes back to their confidence and the resources they have to educate themselves about how they could make life easier for themselves. What we don't have, and I speak from a regional tourism board point of view at this point, is the resources to do it ourselves. So 2 people to cover that area, we can't physically get out and do this for all these operators. Our primary role, most people would say, is destination marketing. So our role really is there to drive people to the region. I think it's a critical role of regional tourism boards to support industry development. Without developing industry and new product, you don't have anything to market. Like I say, the pilot that we ran with Tourism Tribe for those 20 operators has gone over so well. And when I've rung to speak to them, they're like, oh, it was great. These are just the kinds of things that I needed to know. It's made a real difference to the business. Now, I'd love to do that over and over again until we got all our operators on that sort of level playing field, because, you know, rising tide lifts all boats. If everyone is learning and it lifts the whole experience for visitors, then everyone wins. You know, everyone wins right across the region. So it's not just about one town here or there or one operator here or there. The whole lot benefit. We also need funds to help us pay to bring the experts in to deliver these kinds of projects. They're the 2 biggies from our point of view. We're seeing a lot more work with, you know, itinerary planning. We're starting to see a lot more things, you know, digital itinerary planning, geolocated podcasts, the tools digitally to experience a region, but it still encourage them to come out and experience that. Those are the things that I think are going to be game changers for tourism. I think digital has made such a huge change. The way that we do business now is so dramatically different. The basics are still the same. We're still there because we want to give people great experiences and talk about all the great things there are to do wherever you might be in the world. In terms of international markets, we're still seeing interest, you know, internationally from people who, when the borders open, want to come visit. You know, we're still doing a lot of stuff via Zoom, you know, training for inbound tour operators and agents, you know, in India and China and all over the world, really. So life will get easier once those borders reopen, but there's still a long way to go yet. Long way to go. Yeah.
So there's an awful lot of information in that one video. I do apologise. That's what happens when you interview someone for an hour and chop it down to 10 minutes. I think, Fabi, I mean, you know, Serena touched on a whole bunch of things that you had just been talking about. You know, this concept of how do we get small businesses to understand the business ramifications of not knowing who's in charge of their platform, their Google My Business and so on. From your experience out there, are you seeing a large change in the way, similar to Serena described it, that people are starting to go, oh, we can make small steps and it makes a difference?
Yeah, I'd just like to take it back a notch before answering your question, Stephen. But I want to say the real reason that this program that we ran for Grampians, or the real reason that regions get successful with using digital, is because of people like Serena. And I've been traveling around the Asia Pacific since 2005, giving training, workshops. Whether it's workshops or Zoom, it's no different. There need to be someone in region, a trusted advisor, to help small businesses get on with business. And business is now turned digital, and Serena is that person. I can't count on my one hand the number of regional coordinators like Serena that understands how to fix a Google My Business listing, that let alone take interest in what SEO is, or how to talk to Google My Business, or get set up on Facebook and safe password management. This is why it's working. It's because she understands it, and she's there. She is the trusted advisor that these people, they might know Fabi because I've run the course, but they know Serena is always going to be there for them and is a local. And that's what made it work. And she touches well on what I call Rio in the concrete. And you can probably tell I'm building a house, and we've only got 5 acres, not 160 like Carly. But the week one that we do in our training program, the one we ran with Grampians, is all about smart tools for your business, about safe password management, about phishing, about organizing your files and logos in Dropbox. How many times do I go and train a business and ask them for their logo, and so to start searching on their Mac for the word logo, I'm like, don't you have a Dropbox folder? So bottom of the pyramid stuff like this is so important to get right. And it's not really digital. It's just basic business skills. And as Serena talks about mum and dad operators, it just happens that in our industry, this is the people that have got the great ideas, but they might be lacking those basic business skills. So what really came out of the success of that is Serena being there around them, helping them get the skills, really nurture them and give them confidence. You can train them all you want, but if they haven't got that confidence that they can do it, and especially during COVID, it's going to be very difficult. In terms of how to run the programs and what's the best way to get operators to get to the level that the Grampians did for other people that are helping operators in the room, I think it's really important to acknowledge that the people that you work with, they receive information differently. Like, I'm the tech geek, I learn tools so quickly, but I know that my target market doesn't. And being able to provide them with ways of training that really suits the way their brain works is what's going to make it happen. So as much as I'd like to teach people about everything about SEO in a workshop, I have to find different ways. And it makes it a little bit more tricky to do it when you do it in a whole digital environment and you can't be sitting next to that person. But what we did with Grampians, we really found lots of different tools. For example, we ran health checks. So people received a report, and a lot of people that are kind of old school like to print the report and go to the next step like that. We also had self-paced session. We were live every week. They had, one-on-one coaching sessions. And we've designed a system that allows small businesses to work with one another and motivate each other. And the way we work things is with businesses all around the world, they can connect fortnightly and see that they're not alone having the same problem with their Facebook being hacked, or, what's a phishing email? And that's another way that we found works really well. And if you think about it, we were always doing that digitally before COVID, but now businesses are more ready to use Zoom. Like, we don't get asked anymore how to connect on Zoom, they're ready to find this new way of learning. However, we have to find the right middle by understanding that they like networking functions, they like talking to one another. That's why we have to provide an environment that's suited. So hopefully I've answered your question. I might have digressed a bit.
Yeah, no, look, I think one of the things that becomes really clear to see is that the way that we transform MSMEs is by transforming the support services around them. And I think the larger organisations, the support organisations like tourism tribe and so on play a massive part in this. I'd like to throw back to you, Carly, the question of how closely did you work with Bundaberg Tourism, which is the regional tourism operator in your area? Is that something that was an important relationship as well?
Yeah, definitely. And I guess I board of Bundaberg Tourism as well, so that does help. So having the behind the scenes idea of how we were supporting local tourism operators during COVID, not just in understanding what their requirements were, but also I think Bundaberg Tourism has always been hugely supportive in running workshops to Instagram and Facebook and really giving small to medium business owners an opportunity to see what they can manage themselves and what they can outsource. And where it has been able to be outsourced, Bundaberg Tourism are able to provide a lot of trusted third parties to do that, which is great. I think, though, it's very easy to handball digital aspects of your, of what you do. However, I think it's still really important for the people at the core of the business to be capturing content. So regardless of whether someone is still managing a YouTube channel or managing a Facebook channel and putting posts up on their behalf, somebody still needs to be on the ground capturing when it happens, what happens, and that authenticity. And I think sometimes that's what gets lost with outsourcing. And you do have those issues where, someone is running a My Google business page for someone that's no longer there. So, but I think if there is that fine line where, manage what you can, don't be afraid, build your skills, get that confidence. Don't be afraid to outsource, but you still need to be so involved with capturing even the initial raw content for someone else to turn into, a pearl. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the things that research is telling us that one of the effects of COVID is that we've switched from just being a general destination marketing to being far more granular. And this is something that I say is coming up more often in the whole digital disruption that's going on across the board in a whole range of different communities and jobs. And what I mean by this is that it's not just good enough now to bring people to your region. Individual MSMEs are needing to, find the authentic product in their little area and pull people from the region to their services. And I think, speaking to Ellie Tonkin from Bundaberg Tourism yesterday, we saw some great examples of they build fantastic central resource and they work off everything that they can collect. But fundamentally, as you said, it's up to the local operator to make sure that what's coming out from them is really authentic and powerful stuff that can, reach out.
Definitely. I think authentic, as well as there's a lot to do with, I think everyone wants to know that when they visit a region that they visited like a hidden gem. So that messaging in essence is something you've got to be really strategic about in getting out to those customers. We want people to go, oh, I found out about it through someone else, not because I saw it on, we do have billboards and we've got all those different levels of traditional marketing that we push out on, but you still want people to feel like they discovered something that not many other people have. So it's definitely a strategy of ours. And yeah, it's worked, a lot of time and time again.
Yeah. So thanks for that. I'd like to invite Dr. Madelene Blaer to come and join us now from Monash University. This is now going to take the journey up, slightly larger size organisation, but still an NGO that's working to build, its own reputation and marketplace. And this is for Live Penguin TV social media. So I'll throw it to you, Madelene, if you could take us through the scenario of what went on over COVID during that time for you.
Thanks so much, Stephen. Are you able to see my slides now?
We are.
Excellent. Perfect. And you can hear me fine, which is great.
Yeah.
So thank you, everyone, for having me. My name's Dr. Madelene Blaer, and as Stephen kindly noted, I'm from the Graduate Tourism Program at Monash University, where I look after the digital tourism and research units for our Master of Sustainable Tourism Management students. My own research, though, addresses how digitalisation in tourism and travel can lead to sustainable practices and outcomes. And this links in really well with the themes of this symposium. So I'm very happy to be here. So today I'm going to share some of the findings from a recent research project of mine with Phillip Island Nature Parks. And to provide a very brief background, Phillip Island Nature Parks is a not-for-profit harnessing the tourism industry for their research, education and conservation programs. And they're located about 90 minutes drive from Melbourne. And the Penguin Parade is one of their key tourism offerings, where each night at sunset, visitors can watch hundreds, sometimes thousands of these little penguins swim in and return to their burrows in the sand dunes. So all of this, of course, had to temporarily close during the lockdowns that we had in 2020. But management responded with an innovative initiative, and that was to live stream it. And I partnered with them to analyse the impact, because whilst we know from previous studies that online experiences can reinforce travel motivation, there's really a lack of research that examines the use of live webcams in this regard, and especially so in the context of an unprecedented global pandemic. And place-based live webcams really took off in popularity last year, but live penguin TV was different in a number of ways. Firstly, it was scheduled to air nightly at sundown rather than being available 24/7. There were park ranger hosts that provided live expert commentary, and they had 2 cameras, so they could provide a range of angles that were controlled by the hosts, who could respond and zoom in on live events. And lastly, importantly, online audiences could also ask questions and interact with hosts and other viewers via social media chat functions on Facebook and YouTube, where it was streamed. Great efforts were really put into promoting the campaign in the lead up with a number of media outlets, including Time Out. They had a feature article and with interviews with ABC. They also generated earned media, and you can see an example here on my slides with the live rescue of one of the little penguins. It was also shared on the State Premier's Facebook page and highlighted in Tourism Australia's newsletter. So it received some incredible coverage. Phillip Island Nature Parks provided me with their social media data, and my analysis showed that 7.4 million unique users across 119 countries were reached. But it was really the level of engagement that struck me, because not only was live penguin TV being displayed on millions of screens, but people were interacting with it. They were liking, sharing, commenting, and clicking on the posts. The top performing post was on launch night, with more than 771,000 viewers tuning in. Nightly viewership numbers then averaged out to around 25,000, which is a significant sustained engagement over the 112 days that it was aired. There were also thousands of comments and questions that were posted every night, about 1,200 on average, but up to 5,000 on the popular nights. Some viewers were asking questions multiple times, and this may have been because their post was lost in the feed and perhaps unanswered by the hosts. And other viewers would then become frustrated and report and block those viewers that were posting repeatedly, some of which may have just been, excited children eager to ask questions. So a lesson here is that either a very high level of chat moderation is required to manage viewers' chat experience, or very clear instructions as to where and how to submit questions so that this can be managed. I developed an online survey that we shared on their website and social media platforms. And we received 590 usable responses with about a 60-30-10 split with intrastate, interstate, and international viewers. And interestingly, even with a strong public relations campaign and the news about the launch being shared very widely on more traditional media channels, the survey showed that by far the most common information source leading viewers to Live Penguin TV was their Facebook account. So this really goes to show the reach and the power of social media. The findings show as well that Live Penguin TV really became a ritual for people. Around 165 respondents reported watching on a nightly basis, and another 220 people watched at least once weekly, although half of this group were watching 4 to 6 times per week. Almost half watched by themselves, and then the other half were watching with family, which really relates to most of the respondents being in lockdown with their household. The top reasons for watching related to the conservation of wildlife and the natural world, education about it, and feeling connected. And these reasons were selected over being entertained and simply looking for something to do whilst in lockdown. From a tourism management perspective, the findings show that Live Penguin TV positively influenced travel motivation and actual visitation to the Penguin Parade, as well as their other smaller sites, including their Koala Conservation Centre and Churchill Island Heritage Farm. Around a quarter reported that they had visited or had booked to visit Phillip Island, and another 66% said that they were likely to do so. Intention to travel interstate to Victoria and internationally to Australia were influenced too, with the majority of viewers from other states and countries supporting this. And the conservation messages were received very positive as well, with 99% agreeing with this. In part, I think that this is what led to the other types of actions that were taken as a result of watching Live Penguin TV, such as recommending visiting to others, adopting a penguin, and donating to the Penguin Foundation, as well as purchasing from Phillip Island Nature Park's online store. "405 respondents provided extended comments, which revealed a number of interesting insights. Viewers highly valued the regular park ranger hosts. They almost became like celebrities, and viewers felt like they were close friends, reporting wanting to visit the parade in order to meet them. Another major theme was that Live Penguin TV helped viewers to cope with lockdown and its isolation, especially for those suffering from extreme loneliness, deep depression and anxiety during this time. And Live Penguin TV generated a sense of community with other viewers and a sense of connection to the outside world, especially nature, as well as a reminiscence of pre-COVID times with people reflecting on their past travels. Viewers collectively referred to themselves as Waddle Watchers, and after the final nightly live stream aired, they established a private Facebook group for interested viewers to keep in touch. And you can see the image of that here with Waddle Watchers Anonymous. So I'll summarise my short talk here just in a couple of sentences. I think the key ingredients leading to Live Penguin TV's success was that Phillip Island Nature Parks backed their innovation with available resources. It was then picked up by the media worldwide because it was a good news story during this dark time. And then the interactive element of the webcam generated an online community, which really maintained the momentum and has now translated into actual and intended visitation, which will really help with the post-COVID recovery for Phillip Island. So that's it from me. Thank you all very much for your attention, and I look forward to answering some questions at the end of this session. I do need to jump off not too late after 12, I'm afraid, but if there are further questions, please do feel free to email me and get in touch that way as well.
Sure, thanks Madelene. Thanks for that really interesting presentation. We are coming close to the end of this session, so I won't hit you with too many questions, and we'll be winding up as well. I do encourage, if people do want to ask questions, certainly feel free to get on the chat. I know that it tends to be a little bit less used in this type of environment, so I might just throw a question to you. One is, the outcomes that you were showing us seem to involve a lot of different partners and potentially wider stakeholders. I mean, you weren't just building Phillip Island Nature Park's reputation, you were building other aspects of regional parks and interest in things. I suppose what I'm asking is, were Phillip Island Nature Parks able to leverage any of this to build new partnerships that might help them in the future?
Yeah, that very much is part of the intention, and I think it's what we'll be seeing going forward, with collaboration just being such an important part of the tourism industry, and especially for regional destinations. They most certainly have an ongoing partner in the graduate tourism program now with myself. We've already organised for a team of my students to go on site and collect further data from visitors on site, now that we're able to welcome people back to our state's tourism attractions. So we're really looking forward to collecting more data and finding out about how Live Penguin TV as well has perhaps had an impact on other small operators within the region, and seeing if that visitation to the Penguin Parade is then translating into visitors staying longer and visiting other places within the region as well.
And I assume the park is now opened back up again. Are they noticing any differences in visitation numbers?
They have. They've been able to reopen. There are still caps on numbers, I believe, and we haven't been able to welcome back our international market to Australia yet. And Phillip Island Nature Parks pre-COVID did have a very strong international market, but we've definitely seen a strong domestic tourism and intrastate tourism in terms of visitation, especially day trippers from Melbourne. But it will be great to be able to see people extending those day trips into extended stays within the region.
Fantastic. Look, I'd love to thank all our panel members for being here today. An hour has gone way too quickly, and I do hope that sharing their knowledge has been inspiring and thought-provoking for everyone across APEC. So I'd like to once again thank Carly, Fabi, Madelene, and for Serena's video as well. Thank you, panels. Thanks for that. We're going to now switch over to our masterclass. I might ask if Michael Simonetti is online to switch his camera on. I'd like to introduce Michael, and I'll also introduce Liz Ward from Tourism Tribe, who will be presenting after Michael. We will include two presentations from different presenters to help us take in the wide range of knowledge and experience from two different viewpoints. I do hope that we can draw insights and new ideas to take from our two presenters. So the second presenter, as I said, will be Ms. Liz Ward. Liz has a passion for the tourism industry and the growth that comes from the adoption of innovative technologies and digital capacity building, having led the Australian Tourism Data Warehouse for many years and now working with Tourism Tribe. So Liz delivers projects to benefit destinations and the thousands of businesses, attractions and events that make up the tourism industry. So we thank Liz for joining us a bit later. But first up, we have Mr. Michael Simonetti. So Michael is the founder and director of the marketing and technology agency AndMine. With offices across Australia and Asia, they work across a wide variety of marketplaces spanning retail, government, fashion, finance, entertainment. The list is much larger, but I kept it shorter. As a marketing specialist, Michael is one of the few marketing specialists that I know that also holds degrees in computer science, software engineering, and telecommunications engineering. His knowledge across technology and marketing is matched by his passion for mentoring and supporting NGOs, universities, students, and startups. So welcome, Michael, and we'll cross to you for our first masterclass presentation.
Thanks for that warm intro, Stephen, and welcome everybody. Yeah, as Stephen said, we've got a very wide background in marketing and digital, and I've been at this probably for almost 25 years. So it was funny seeing the picture on the introduction slides, got me in this nice suit. And one of the big things that's changed in COVID for me is a lot more casual wear. So I've adopted the agency's official T-shirt now as my formal wear. So far enjoying that one change to business that's been allowed. Okay, if we can step through the slides. Yeah. Next, we'll just go to the next slide. I don't want to bore you too much with the intro. Next one. Okay, so yeah, we basically tackle everything from marketing to tech, and in that, you know, we've been sort of renowned for giving advice and giving a lot of advice as much as we can push out into the marketplace. We realize that the space is enormously challenging for everybody. You know, our clients, friends and family, like pretty much anyone we talk to, they're always looking at that, trying to find out what's the latest thing to do. So we sort of sit at the edge of that, and we suck in and work on a lot of enterprise platforms. We build a lot of software, we do a lot of technology. But more and more, we find ourselves doing marketing work and pitching marketing ideas and really getting to understand what organizations are about. So that is, you know, you do all the tech stuff really, really well, but it's not just ticking boxes and sounding smart. It's also like really understanding people. And it was good so far. If we could slip to the next slide. Just listening in today as well to understand that, you know, everybody's story is different and everybody's way about this is different. And you know, yes, there's little hurdles to overcome, and hopefully today I'll be able to give some sort of a wider lens insight to those pieces. So we've done this almost everywhere. As you can see, we've delivered campaigns all around the globe. Obviously, we're based in Australia, but we've got offices in Asia as well. Yeah, the campaigns that we touch, you know, the good thing is no matter where you are, there's a lot of analogy to the campaigns. So, you know, whether you're running digital marketing or social media or advertising or websites, this is quite universal now. So the platforms that we tap into and the advice I give you today will be very relevant to where you are. Next slide. So we pride ourselves on being able to get really good results for our clients. So the stuff that I'm talking you through today, and you know, we'll get into question time after this. But if you do have any questions on anything and you want to email me, obviously my details are available. Please feel free to email me. You know, the task is always to get an amazing result out for our clients. And we've been able to achieve really good results, sometimes 10 times better than clients that are handed them to us. So we work across, as Stephen said, a lot of industries. So, you know, we've got a lot of experience, but the underlying thing is it's always the same, is you know, storytelling and being understand what our clients are trying to get out and what your customers and what your clientele are trying to get out. Next slide. So that was some sort of high level glossy stuff about our agency, but let's get into you know, the tourism piece. So putting digital first. Now, the big thing so far is this COVID-19 reset. It's been an enormous change. I mean, we saw a 30% drop off of our clients in the first month of COVID, because we do have a lot of tourism, entertainment, restaurant, food and beverage clients that were immediately affected. So we went on that journey with our customers as well, and a lot of MSMEs that we worked with took a huge hit. And that, understanding of that, the one line that always resonates for me, someone told me when I was very, very young, you're only as good as your next gig. So no matter what is thrown at you, it doesn't matter. Those challenges are things that we need to overcome. The travel sector, again, is something that's going to come on in a longer period of time. But it was also good to hear again today the experiences of people that have been able to take that step back and go, okay, well, what else can we do? How do we tap into the digital environment? And we've seen enormous numbers in digital pop up over the last year. Our retail customers saw basically a 5-year increase in a few months in terms of volumes. So let's step into the next slide. So connection to reality. So this is like one of our top rules, and it's super overlooked. Like everybody thinks, okay, well, we can just jump into digital, and these tools will be able to provide us the ability to reach new audiences, and we're going to do very well over integrations. And again, it was good to hear that raw feedback today from people saying, okay, well, we have problems with passwords, and then we have problems with integrations, or I don't know who has our logo, and all those little things are really important. But I'm not talking about that here. What is often overlooked is like the reason why we're connecting to our audiences, and that piece has to be very, very tight and very interesting to the end consumer. We don't all have penguins on parade, but we have to find what that penguins on parade is for us. And it doesn't matter how small your audience starts with, it's how you build it up, and it's how you stay true to that content over time. Next slide. So the thing about COVID, like what I do is I talk to people mainly, more than anything. I mean, I come from a technology background, and I did a lot of software engineering in my 20s, but really what I do is I talk to people a lot. So, and I look out for changes and trends in environments that are going to affect marketing. So recently I was in Gold Coast Airport, and the flight was delayed 5 hours. Now that's a long time. I mean, typically, a few years back, if a flight's delayed 5 hours, everyone's really pissed off. But it was interesting to see how people really coped with it. I mean, the changes that we've had because of COVID are enormous, and people, like the audiences, like if we take the lens right back and think about our customers and our audience and tourists in general, they're willing to put up with a big change to get back to normal. And that change, that flexibility, is something that we should understand. It was funny, then I was walking around, and I saw this vending machine, and it had a Snakes Alive pack stuck in it, right? So that's that's where we are. COVID's really stopped us in our tracks, and it said to all tourism providers, like, what do we do next? Do we go after, do we worry about that pack that's stuck, or do we go back on the ride and put the next coins in and go for 2 packs? And I really see that that's the opportunity that's ahead, is that the enormous learnings that have been figured out in the last year, but also the not just from a provider's point of view, from an MSME's point of view, but from the customer as well. They've experienced digital, like, with a rapid, many years advanced in digital. Like, so everyone's gotten onto the tools. They've been shopping online. There's been enormous uplift in that. That's something that we can now tap into. People know how to do that very, very smoothly. And they're looking for those experiences before they're going to be doing more research before they actually go and book travel. Next slide. So this, I'm going to probably reiterate and drill on this piece. Like that, the number one thing is, who is our audience, and we've done a ton of work in, cafes and entertainment, local attractions, holidays, travel agencies, and government. All of these projects that we've worked on, and that we were working on the year before last, had an immediate standstill last year. But we were in contact with a lot of these clientele over the time, just to see how they were doing and what they were doing to pivot. what their audience was doing, how they were adapting. One of the interesting, and this is about us understanding those audiences more than anything, and for us as people that are providing advice into organizations, into MSMEs, we have to understand what it is that they're really trying to look for in terms of their trends within their marketplace. Anecdotally, a friend of mine owns a lot of cafes and restaurants in the city in Melbourne, and Melbourne City was almost dead for an entire year. And coming back online this year because things are starting to build up again, and he operates in a lot of tourist areas. He said, okay, well, we're doing well now because things have started to open back up a bit, but May is going to be a big downturn. And I said, okay, well, why is May a downturn? He goes, well, it always is. It's colder, less people go out. The trend, that's what happens in the trend. And he said, but it comes back in June. I said, well, why is it coming back in June? Like, it doesn't make sense. It's colder in June in Melbourne than May. Why is there more people out and about then? And he said, well, it's because people, they don't want to just, sit inside and do nothing. They get a little bit, the ants in their pants, and they actually want to go back out. So, they've got this period of time, and, last year was a very big forced period of time, but they're ready to get back out there. And having these digital pieces in place will make sure that, people can find, what they're going to do next very easily. And they are looking for new experiences. Next slide. So, know your audience. So, irrespective of who your audience is, I think everyone needs to be very, very honest about that. Like when you're going out to find out who your new audiences are, it is very important to figure out who they are, what the demographics of them are, what their ages are, what their interests are in and outside of the particular offering or tourist offering that you're providing or that the organization's providing. Digital does have the ability to target lots of different groups very easily and segment them. But you want to know who your core groups are and what drives them and what interests them. Because as you adapt for them over time, and as more people come to experience local tourism, the audience will actually tell you a lot about how to adjust your business. So not just are we pivoting for digital, but we're also pivoting for how we're going to shape the experience once they get to a destination. So digital is very good at connecting us very quickly with these audiences, but it's also it can become expensive to target too many audience. So we always give the advice, really be very lean in the audiences that you're targeting, because that will really tighten up your messaging and the communication to those audiences as well. Next slide. So the thing about digital is there's a lot of factors to it. So sometimes it's overwhelming when you're starting off and when organizations are starting off or starting into the journey. And not only is it overwhelming, it's also changing all the time. So if you get good at a new technology, say like Facebook Live, then we're always pushing our clients to look at new technologies as well and see where the opportunities are and try those things. Things like uploading to YouTube are great ideas, but also checking out new platforms like TikTok and others give the ability to see where audiences, where you can tap into audiences that may be very, very aligned to the product and offering that's from the MSME. So we do tracking for our organizations to try and figure out what the overall value is of what they're doing on platforms. And so we take into account a lot of factors. And it's important to do this because people don't operate on just one platform anymore. It's not just Facebook. It's not just YouTube. It's not just your website. It's not just SEO. There's all of these factors that are important to building a stable audience online. And once you've built these audiences, they're very, very powerful. So the one thing that I'd recommend while you are building up audiences or helping people figure out how to build up audiences is absolutely maintain that authenticity and integrity, because you want the right people to follow you. It's very easy to get a lot of numbers really quickly, but they won't be aligned to what your end service is. Next slide. How we do that is something called information architecture. And this is a little bit of a buzzword at the moment because more and more people in marketing are getting onto information architecture. But essentially, it is trying to draw boxes and connect the dots about how people are coming in from different platforms and how they are connecting into your digital environment. So, you know, are they coming to Facebook? Okay, and then from Facebook, how are they potentially booking, or how are they inquiring? You know, are they going to your website first? Is that the best outcome? Are they on one of your social media pages? Are they on a TikTok? Are they watching a video? From that video, how do they get to to contact customer service? How do they book? Those little pieces are extremely, extremely important. So for us, information architecture is a combination of, you know, where are people going? And the other buzzword in this space at the moment is customer experience, CX. So a lot of these little words and little buzzwords are thrown around in digital, but it basically means is like understand, you know, how people are stepping through different platforms to get to a result that the MSME wants, right? So it's not just watch the content and get the awareness out there. It's trying to take that next step and actually capture them into an audience that you start to own. So next slide. So I'm just going to run through quickly the big 5 in digital of how we make that happen, or how we assist in making that happen for our clients, and hopefully there's some take homes here as well. Next slide. You know, I don't know if anyone knows this story, and I am conscious of time, so because I'm good at talking. So the Michelin Guide was initially set up in France, and you know, like this is an idea around how to get people to buy more tires. Now, it's a strange way to get people to buy more tires. You release a guide about food, right? So, but they realized that, you know, they could tie the idea in together. So they're thinking about this something to do with storytelling, something to do with their organization, but that they can tap into something that has a related experience. And they had this very simple system. You know, a good restaurant, 1 star is a good restaurant in this category. Excellent is worth a detour. So, you know, you drive there on a trip, you take a detour. Exceptional is worth a unique trip. You drive all the way there just to experience this restaurant. I mean, we all know that the success that Michelin stars have had in the restaurant industry, in the travel industry, but it's ideas like this. They don't have to be as big as this, but you do need, like, you know, the factors around audience and your organization is also about storytelling and being able to produce content that is aligned to something that's interesting. Okay, so overarching these big 5 ideas, we're always thinking about what is the content and how do I create this storytelling that's going to be interesting about my destination. Next. Okay, so the pieces of that we're, you know, again, I mentioned the buzzword customer experience, and I really just talked about the storytelling aspect of this. Where are we going to place the storytelling? Okay, so the storytelling is either now, we have this experience available now, right? Or the ongoing storytelling. So campaigns are, you know, ads or offers or the deals that are happening now, right? They're very easy to put together, you know, holiday packs or buy one, get one free. Those campaign ideas can spike attention, but storytelling is really about the ongoing process of storytelling on social media, on your website, on email, and of course, you know, supporting that with media buying. Okay, but it's always about people. Next slide. So campaigns. So you see big campaigns in our marketplace, you know, on television. These are also, you know, big campaigns in digital, but a campaign can be a very simple idea that's put out, you know, like to do with just, it doesn't have to be such a massive campaign. Campaigns can be little ideas. So, you know, we're doing a lot of Mother's Day campaigns this week for our clients, and they're just offering a simple product tied into the concept of Mother's Day. Now, while we're looking for bookings and sales for our clients, you know, this week and next week, we're also always thinking about, okay, we want to build up that earned media ecosystem. We want to build up that earned audience that we're going to own. It's not worth just spending money on campaigns, because if you spend money on campaigns, then you're always reliant on those campaigns. That's why you go back and you think about, okay, well, what is the architecture, the information architecture? If they look at a campaign and they get excited about it, how do they experience, how do I get them into my storytelling content? How do I get them into following me as an advocate or a supporter of my MSME or organization, so that they do want to travel there, they do want to book, maybe not consider it now, but consider it later. And if they don't want to buy today, if they don't want to book today, how do they book later down the track? You've got to keep them involved in that storytelling. So campaigns for us are always, they always serve a direct marketing or a direct response benefit. So, you spend some money, you've got to earn more money out of that campaign, but we're also looking at that long-term piece always. Next slide. Social media. Okay, so social media is one of those like enormous challenges for organizations, and people start, on one platform and try things out. And if they're unsuccessful, it's very daunting, and they think, well, I don't have a great following, or I haven't had these huge successes. Okay. But what the question is always is, what are we going to get out of these platforms? All platforms are changing dramatically. Like they've got new functions and tools in them built in all the time, and it is a big job to be part of it. But there's no better way of saying this than, yes, there's a barrier to entry, but you have to be involved. There's so many people spending so much time on social media. And you've got the MSME really has to figure out themselves what that engaging content is. It's easy to highlight great stories like the Penguin Parade and say, well, look how phenomenal they can be. But you don't have to set those as benchmarks either. We can have a nicer ongoing position that grows over time. Like, you don't need an enormous amount of people following and watching. You just need to think about growth. And then again, back to the storytelling idea, like, what content are you putting out that is interesting? You'll know because more and more people will watch it, and more people will share it over time. And that's what we're really looking for. And then in terms of what's going to happen next, tell people to look out for virtual reality tours, and tell people to look out for, short 15-second TikTok video clips. And they're super easy to put together. And, one of the big realizations, the light bulb moments for people last year is, I don't need to spend an enormous amount on production of video. Like, I can shoot it myself. There's interesting characters in and around our business. Next slide. Okay, this is one that EDM and content funnels is one that's often overlooked. We spend a lot of time in social media or building campaigns or trying to put ideas together. But EDMs, email marketing and content funnels, are enormously powerful. So and what we normally do is say, okay, well, let's have a look at your posts on social media for the last, the 10 posts, and how do we string a theme together and put out marketing, say, pick up a platform like MailChimp and send them like 3 or 4 emails in a row. And at the end, there might be an introductory offer or something like that. Again, these themes around, enjoy 10 days in our location is like a little virtual holiday or something that you could build up in an email campaign. And because you get to gather their email address and you have a direct contact with them, and you're providing good content, you can see when they come back to your website and when they come back through your marketing, and you start to gain a really good sense of who your audience is. So there's a combination between the email marketing here, but also there's a lot of tools online now that can track those users coming in and out of emails when they're reading them, and you know how active your audience is, not just by watching the likes and follows on a social media channel. Next slide. And again, all of this forms part of the information architecture. So even if your information architecture document at the start is very, very simple, over time you build it up, and you realize where the real power is with your audiences. SEO, I'm just conscious of time here as well, Stephen. So I'm going to speed through this because I did put a lot of slides into SEO just to highlight that I know I'm talking about these things from a very, very high level, but every one of them has a very, very deep learning curve that you want to get through. So the more organizations understand of these things themselves, the better off they'll be, because yes, we can all pay somebody or pay a marketing agency to do work. Some of them are very irresponsible with that work. They say, okay, well, we're ticking the box and we're doing the work, but they don't understand whether or not they're producing real value for the MSME. Stephen, you wanted to jump in?
I was just going to say that, look, I think it's really good to explore SEO, so I don't feel you need to race through it. It is important. the way you just put it then, which
Yeah.
is that people often don't understand SEO and therefore they're not using it effectively, and they get shortchanged by the agency that's helping them. I like that thought, particularly for MSMEs. How do we think about it as a single person business or a mum and dad business? How do they get into SEO and stick to the important parts?
So like all of these big five are important, right? But let me say it this way, like we're a very responsible agency, okay? But my team members that produce the work for our clients, they're busy. And that's what happens in all agencies. Now, I always push them, like, what is the value you're giving back to the client based on this work? Whether it's SEO or a social media campaign or an advertising campaign, anything, right? Some agencies just go across and tick the box. We've done the work, no problem. It's on you where the value is. We try and bring that value in and say, okay, well, have we earned you that value? And that's why I showed you the graph before with the ecosystem value, because we're there to say, you've earned this, you can use this, it's a benefit to your business. But, the complexity of this, of all of these, we know is challenging. SEO is one of those things that's overlooked. It's easy to resource and it's extremely powerful. So if you've got a website and you're producing content for social media, and hopefully you're also producing EDMs that are going out to the audience that you own, SEO is an easy way to make sure that you can capture keywords and searches in your local area to attract tourists from anywhere, all over the globe. Because especially when you're putting in destination addresses like Melbourne or Bundaberg or Port Phillip, an island, right? Any of these little things are huge buzzwords, and if you're unique in that space, you'll win that traffic, and people will find you. So, from a high level, SEO is one of those things that you earn. Over time, it builds up for you, builds up for you, builds up for you. And unlike campaign advertising, as soon as you turn off advertising, it's off. You've lost that traffic. SEO, when you build it up, and you build it up from social media, from campaigns, from EDMs, once you've earned it, you've earned it. And it takes a lot to lose it. So, it takes, time, 6 months, 12 months to build up. But once you've earned it, you own it. And that's something that you can rely on. Okay. Obviously, next slide. Google's very good as well at making sure that people still want to pay for it in competition. But if you own that first organic or couple of first organic positions for particular keywords, you do very, very well. Here's a little insight to the process that we run for our clients here at AndMine. So first of all, we develop an SEO matrix. It's just a smart way of saying SEO keywords. We're looking for primary, secondary, and tertiary keywords in the category. Brand words are also important. Like the name of your or the name of the MSME or the company or the place that the company brand that people are looking for. But category words are eminently more important because they're the general terms that people are searching for. When we look at those keywords, we try not to make hundreds of them. We try and start with a nice list. There's tools online that tell you what the volume of traffic is that you can earn if you win those keywords, if you get into the mix of those keywords. And again, you're going to need some online tools to assist with this. But once you've got that sense and you go, okay, well, I could earn 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000 pieces of traffic per month, that's extremely valuable. Like average click costs to when you buy those keywords, a couple of dollars, sometimes more. So you can very quickly generate, $5,000 or $10,000 worth of earned media per month, and that's ongoing. You get that value every month, all year round. The next big piece will be content, though. So you can't just put stuff keywords into your website, and that's enough. Google wants you to constantly produce content, and that's why I'm saying think about your social media posts, think about the emails that you're putting out. How can you make them blog posts or posts on your website or information pieces on your website so that you can draw into and get that SEO over time? To do that really well is going to also require some sort of offsite linking back into your website. So join local tourism groups, join local, state and national tourism bodies to get your links posted back to your website, especially around the particular topics that you will work back up for those keywords. You start doing a couple of these things in place and you'll generate good keyword, good backlinks and good traffic over time. And it's an iterative or a long process, but it is extremely, extremely valuable. We put nearly every client of ours into SEO. Next slide.
So, Michael, I could suggest too that this is particularly an area that regional tourism boards could really get involved here, because if you're a very small MSME, you probably haven't invested very much, if anything at all, in SEO and knowing what these words even mean. But this is something for policymakers to really think about. How do we bring this type of support out to a regional level? And yeah, I think there's some really good points around that, which
to get people into it, like people can reach out to me. I can send some white papers, and there's articles in Forbes that we've written for how to do SEO, starting to all the way through, and they're not detailed or complicated, but they get you on the right track. Especially local tourism and places that are that are unique experiences. Like if you put Bundaberg, animal rescue tourist spot in, if you've written a small article on that, you're going to be the only person in the world that wins that link. And there might only be 5 or 10 or 20 people searching on that a month, but you'd be surprised. They're the people that want to actually come and see that. They've heard about it, they've heard something about it. Somebody mentioned something that they went and saw an animal shelter at a farm in Bundaberg, and all of a sudden they type that into a search string, and you've got that traffic. And those people are absolutely interested in coming. They're easy to win, very easy to win. And of course, you can produce thousands of articles like that. It's one of the strategies that we use in our agency. There's 500 articles on our website purely to capture those unique circumstances that we're aligned to our clients, and everybody can do the same thing.
So this is where an individual MSME's funnel can be thought of. They're not trying to capture the whole world of tourism traffic. They're trying to capture a very narrow band of it, which is, as you've said, uniquely theirs. It's about their people, their authentic customer journey that they're trying to build a relationship with. Yeah,
exactly. And look, you can start on those. Again, think about your audience, think about what they would be searching for and how it relates to you. You put little articles up like that, you're going to win those searches. And then you can expand. Like once you start winning traffic, you'll get excited about that, because it's essentially free traffic. And those, especially those unique searches, pretty much no one's going to be advertising on those keywords because they're very unique. And as you go and as it improves, then start thinking about doing things on a more formal basis and getting an SEO agency or an agency involved to assist with the technical side of those pieces. Go with organizations that are reputable, but always go with, well, what are you going to get for me out of this? How is it going to grow? I've done the groundwork. I've set up articles. We're doing okay. I want you to accelerate this and double it for us or triple it for us. What does it take? And always get an outcome from an agency if you're going to work with them. So
I suggest I just want to remind people that if you want to ask any questions, just enter them in the chat, and we're keeping an eye on that, and we can bring them into the conversation. Maybe jump forward to the gaps and pain points slide that you've got, because I think that sort of summarises some really key issues really quite nicely. And as you say, we are
we've talked about media buying. Again, that's really just campaigns. Next one. And again, ROAS is really about just making sure that you've got getting numbers out. If you're spending money, make money. Okay, so gaps and pain points. So there's different types of pain points for every organization. And again, we're talking organization. We're marketing and technical, but it's really about people. We're there and we're asking these questions all the time. What content should always be on? What should be in the ad to convert sales? Not just, we're going to put out a campaign. We want to make money every time we spend money. What are on our landing pages, what are the calls to action? Is it book? You can't book now. How do you sign up to our email marketing funnel? How do you follow us on social media? But really making sure that on the other side of that, the email marketing funnel is interesting. Don't just get them to sign up to something, but not make it interesting. Tell them why. You're going to experience our destination for the next 10 days like you're here with us, right? I can't think of anyone who a website wouldn't take that offer up.
That's right. I'd like to really just emphasize that point. You're the first person so far in these workshops to mention call to action. It's a very common term amongst marketers, but perhaps for the less professional,
sorry, I'm very
we really need to understand this concept. That
okay. So let me give you an example, right? So the Bundaberg farm. Sorry, I've forgotten the names.
Splitters Farm.
Splitters Farm. Okay, so if Splitters Farm had a big graphic on the homepage or on one of the key website pages and on the blog posts around, say, animal shelter or animal rescue, but it could be like, join us on the farm for the next 10 days. Now, I know people can watch on Facebook Live. I know they can pick up little pieces on TikTok and they're following in other places. But if you dropped into their inbox, a nice little story and a beautiful photo every day for 10 days, it feels like they're experiencing it and they're getting this personalized message around, and to do that, they've handed over their email address. And that will get them more engaged and it will give them the ability to forward out pieces like that, they've been personally invited to something rather than they're just following on. Now, all of those tricks work, but a call to action really says, this is the offer. It's a free offer. It's about content, and I'm going to get you involved from that point of view. A call to action could also be book now. But again, there's limitations on that for organizations for the next 12 months, or we don't know. So again, we're trying to develop CTAs that have essentially not just book now, it has got a bit more depth and storytelling to it.
And you were talking about that earlier with standing out emotionally, which I thought the way you described storytelling was really, really valuable. You were talking about, being authentic with people about them as customers, but also warming them up, tracking that relationship. Effectively, then you're making a funnel to capture it, but then you're standing out emotionally. And that's a great example of, how then that leads to a call to action that is not general, but it's highly specific to you, to your small business.
That's right. Like we often feel as owners or operators that we understand our audience, but you've got to try things out and speak to them about that. And it's a very emotional, going somewhere and experiencing a destination is a very beautiful and emotional part of life. And you want those things to sit in their memory. And you want to frame them before they come with, this is going to be this sort of journey and experience. And you can really get very, very close to that emotional bond and provide the beauty through again, I'm a digital marketer, but I know that the real life experience is much, much better. But there are those storytelling aspects, and if you get them right, things accelerate exponentially. And we see content providers on new platforms like TikTok go from a few hundred views to millions of views to millions of followers in weeks, because they understand and they've thought about that. Maybe they've got lucky, but all the others have thought about their audience and really grinded on what am I actually giving to people and why, and what do they like. Okay, well, I'm going to repeat those pieces and expand on them, and drill down and then expand, drill down and then expand. And then some other pain point. Again, there's a million questions to pain points. What is our, are we generating the right traffic to get the right followers? If we're spending money, are we getting out? What are we getting out of our organic? How are we growing our organic followers? What is the engagement rate like? Do we need to shift up our tone of voice? Are we being a little bit too formal? Do we need to, let our kids, urinate and yell in the background sometimes accidentally, because this is real life and people love those experiences. They're the ones that they talk about. It's the non-planned, it's the blooper reel that really make people laugh. And yeah, again, we assess this from a very business, like everything we do, we assess it from a business point of view. So, are we spread too thin on resources, or, are we able to handle these platforms? You really have to pick things that you can do and can push out, but don't be afraid to just look over the horizon a little bit and look at the next platform and test that out. Don't just get stuck. Facebook Live's working for us. Awesome. We're not going to change, right? Don't do that. Always look over the horizon, because that Facebook Live content dropped into another platform, say like a TikTok, and shortened down, might get you 10 times the viewership, might get you 100 times the viewership. We're always trialing things like that out for our clients as well. And then, yeah, the big headache for the last year was definitely COVID-19. I think, I'm not sure what else, what next slide, what's on, I think we're done. Again, this is just about making sure we're measuring takeaways for today. I won't dwell too much on that. There's a lot of measurements and stuff and KPIs that we can do in our marketplace. The takeaways. Okay, so beside trying to take away the 2 packets of snakes alive, and if I was doing this live, I would have a lot of snakes alive to be handed out because they're delicious. Know your audience and make sure that you're connecting with reality. Don't do things that are off topic for the destination. Make sure your storytelling crosses as many platforms as you can resource, but don't overdo it. Don't think you need to overproduce it or overcook it. You know, there's also tools that can spit out content to multiple platforms at once. And yeah, just keep checking. You know, what are the real world KPIs, the calls to action, the things that you want people to do, and how do you connect them through digital events? How do you connect them through digital tools? They're the big takeaways for today, and yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. It's been a really great presentation. I really like how there's a range of different ways of looking at something. We think of marketing as sort of this, from an external point of view, it's a simple collection of steps. But I like how you really brought in some of the detail to it. I particularly think that the information architecture concept that you referred to is something that could really be distilled down for MSMEs to utilise better. Because I have a similar term, I call it my tech stack. Everyone's got a tech stack in their life. Now your tech stack might be the remote control on your television, how to switch on your microwave, and how to use your mobile phone. You know, it's a collection of devices or software that we need to know about. In a sense, that's what information architecture is. We want even a small operator to understand what the tools are that they can utilise and the next steps to take with them. So I'd like to thank you very much for coming and presenting. That's been incredibly useful. We're managing to stick to time almost, which is good. So thanks for coming on, and we're going to cross over to Liz Ward from Tourism Tribe. Welcome back to the event again, Liz, after yesterday.
Thanks.
It's fantastic to have you on to run your part of the masterclass, and I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thanks so much. I'll share my screen and just bring up some slides. Whilst I'm doing that, I'll try to multitask. I don't know that there really is anything actually, you know, multitasking is a real thing because we are using the brain to do one thing at a time.
Keep talking if you need to. I can do that quite well.
No, that's fine. I've got mine here, so that's all good. And I'll just move that into presentation mode. What we just had there was a fantastic presentation that I think was really educational in nature. And that's what we need to be doing. We need to be thinking about different ways in which to take people on a digital journey. And I think that there are, you know, there's the need for telling them the why, the strategy. There's the need to inspire them with examples and case studies. There's the education piece about how you do it. And then there's the support piece. And I feel like this forum has touched on all of those. I am also mindful that there's been a lot of, you know, one-to-many conversation here with our presentations and the panelists. And I really encourage those people from different destinations for this session. Please feel free to chat as I'm presenting on my pieces about what you're doing in your destinations or examples that you've seen that you could share in the chat with others who are online with us today, because I think seeing what each other is doing in different destinations is very valuable and it creates inspiration for all of us as well. But what I wanted to do was lift us up a little bit in terms of now coming back a bit to strategy about and looking at what consumer travel trends are. What are people looking for? Even in COVID, what has stayed the same in terms of what are the triggers for them to want to travel to a destination or to hand their money over in a value exchange with a tourism business? And then just talk about, so I've just got 7 of these travel trends and what would be some good responses in terms of digital presence opportunities and non-digital as well. because it's obviously a lot about people and relationships, not just about the tools that we use. And I'm sure many of you, given that you're working in government circles and thinking about marketing strategy and tourism strategy, are very familiar with this diagram or something like this about the different stages of the travel purchase cycle. You know, starting with being inspired, where that sort of, it's all that emotional state, moving through to needing information so that you can plan out what that trip will be, and, you know, price and detail, moving through, continuing through a funnel of trust, hopefully with the same destination and the same set of providers or businesses, to the buy stage or book stage, that yummy stage of anticipation once that booking is made. Then through to the experience delivery, which is all about what's delivered on the ground, obviously by the business, and then through to that fantastic, valuable stage of advocacy. Now, what has really shifted has been the shift to experience driving the decision making. That's been a big shift over the last 10 years, that people are saying, well, what is going to actually create memories for me and my family, or the people I'm traveling with? What new memories are we going to create together? What experiences can I have that are things that I'm really passionate about or interested in learning about? It's, you know, those experiences are going to be about connection with people and place and culture and food, adventure or you know, cultural experiences. And so that's what we need to always be thinking about now in terms of what we are putting forward, because that's what the consumer is looking for, and that's what in their mind is driving particularly that inspiration and planning phase of this purchase cycle. And it's certainly in the advocacy stage where they are writing their reviews and posting on social media that they are going to be telling their own stories about the beautiful experiences that they have had. So the opportunities are, and this reinforces what you've also heard in the last presentation about knowing your ideal customers and the experiences that they are seeking. So really profiling your ideal guests to be able to make sure that you're creating experiences that you can market and deliver. Now that comes at a destination level, also at the business level. And then what are the opportunities to collaborate to create experience-based packages and itineraries for your local tourist market in COVID? So, you know, that's the way in which we've seen destinations being able to do, I don't know if it's a full pivot or if it is just thinking about the needs of their customers in that localized area, and being able to put experience-based packages and partnering with others in the local area to really create some new unique things that they can take to market. And that's an opportunity for us all as we are looking for ways. Before, you know, we're going to have a long time, I expect, before a lot of the international travel restrictions are lifted. So what are the new things we can take to market that are very experience-based? The next trend, and we've seen this as well a lot and keep evolving over the last 10 years, is this concept of personalisation. So this, you know, you're not marketing to the masses at all. You know, when we run workshops and we ask people to tell us about their target market, and they might be a small business and they might sit back and they scratch their chin and they say, well, you know, we appeal to everybody. You know, everyone can have a great time with us. But we know, and we have to educate them then on this and explain to them the basics of marketing, bearing in mind that SMEs and micro businesses, they can be very, very good at what they do in the delivery of the experiences, and they can be fantastic hosts and amazing at their customer service. But they aren't marketers. They don't understand about the theory of marketing. That's not their thing. So, you know, taking them through a process of understanding how important it is to be able to define their target market and then to personalise down. Now, what we mean by that is exactly what we all experience as users of Google and Facebook and Instagram and TripAdvisor, that these websites are presenting, using their algorithms, content to us that the algorithm says that we'll be interested in. So we've become, as consumers, very conditioned to only seeing things that are relevant to us based on our interests and based on our behaviours, and websites we've clicked on previously, conversations we've had with people. So the algorithms have gotten so sophisticated, we then need, as marketers of our small businesses and our destinations, to adopt that same approach and present information that is relevant and of interest and very helpful to our ideal customers. So this concept of pain point again. If we can present information on our websites as small businesses that is very targeted to our ideal customer and takes away their pain points. So we're talking about here, say, if it's a family that is looking to get away for a holiday, they're traveling with young children, this is our target market, then what pain points do they have? For example, they need to find accommodation that actually adds to the experience for their family. It caters for them. It actually has maybe activities for the kids to do or offers childminding, or what are the pain points? We need to take those away and make sure that's really clearly presented on our websites to help our ideal customers move through that trust journey and to then move into the planning stage and book with us. Segment customer databases. So anybody who's had sales online essentially has the beginnings of a customer database. And in any crisis, whether it's a post that natural crisis or in COVID, moving into a sales mode that is utilising our customer database is a great tactic to do. These people have already purchased from you. There already is hopefully a level of loyalty to your destination. So we want to be able to reach out to them. So we need to get our database in order. Now, for a small business, that could simply be extracting out their customer email addresses out of their online booking system or whatever they use, getting them into a spreadsheet and starting to do those things that we've heard about in terms of going out to them with offers that are going to be relevant to them. And we then also, when it comes to social media, gone are the days of thinking of it as a free marketing platform. We do all that free organic posting. That's great. We're going to grow our following. We're going to get engagement. Unfortunately, the changes in the algorithms mean that our engagement rates and reach have come down a lot. And we've got to shift our mindset on social media with the organic work and seeing it as a one-to-one relationship opportunity on social media. This is how we can engage with people and think about how we can use groups. So there's a few big changes that have come through where personalisation is really driving that. The third trend is about customer content. When our customers speak about their experiences at our destination or at our business, that customer content absolutely trumps, is far more potent than business content. And research shows that 2/3 of content that is available online is not presented by brands or businesses, it's presented by customers, so through social media and online reviews. So we need to acknowledge that, and this is something that all small businesses can do, is to be more aware and more engaged with customers when they do posts. If they are good enough to tag our businesses or use a hashtag that we can follow that is our business's hashtag, then you have the opportunity to engage back with them or reach out to them and repost that content. So this is an important social media tactic, let alone the online reputation pieces and when they write reviews, to make sure that that's just part of standard procedure within the business, is to respond to all reviews. So opportunities here in summary is to really, it's another attitudinal thing, and this really comes down to the culture in the business as well, is to really value your customers' feedback. This is a trait of entrepreneurs as well. when we've interviewed very entrepreneurial businesses, they really do value the customer feedback, and that customer feedback drives the continuing improvement in the customer experiences that they offer, and that's how they're competitive. So really valuing it, not being shy of it, not being afraid of it, and bringing it into your business, that any staff you work with or your business partner also really respect it. So that means implementing a review management policy and being really consistent with that. We know that the algorithms on review platforms like TripAdvisor or Google My Business, their ranking is based on the recency of reviews, how many reviews, as well as the quality of reviews. And that's why it's still so important to be generating as many reviews as you can, particularly as destinations are opening up again. Share your customers' reviews and social images. So it's a great thing to do is, as you're getting positive reviews, every so often use that as a post and get it out there on social, and use these testimonials throughout your website on relevant pages. Include customer stories in your content. So if you can be speaking with your customer, the business is talking to their customer, include that content. They might do a short video with them, they might take a photo with them, or a photo of them enjoying their business or the destination. And always, as a easy thing for businesses to do, is to establish their unique hashtag for Instagram, get it in their branding, get it on everything they can, and use it on every Instagram post. It becomes part of their brand and really easy then for their customers to know what it is and to reutilize it. Trend 4 is video. So yes, we've seen video growing and growing on social media and websites, YouTube, and it still is far more engaging, and the algorithms on social channels are rewarding businesses when they post video. And Instagram is introducing new mechanisms for video. Yes, stories on Instagram stories, the engagement on Instagram stories is out performing on straight Instagram posts. So Instagram stories is a great opportunity and is a simple form of video. And then they've introduced reels. So great integration with other video platforms that you're doing. And also we've got guides is another new opportunity, which is great for destinations and great for individual businesses to use on Instagram. So when we use these new features that are presented, it means that the algorithm on those platforms, they give a little bit more push because they want us to use them. So that's why it's good to do so. And also, as we've heard previously today, the power of capturing video and then using it in different ways. So yes, get it onto your brand, your free branded YouTube channel, but then edit it down, use it as parts of blog posts, you use it in social media posts, and reuse that content. So key takeaways here in terms of opportunities is quality video for your website. So I'm not talking about the do-it-yourself stuff here for your website. I'd love to see businesses, as they have the investment dollars available, and this is, sometimes there are grant funds or government assistance that goes out there, getting quality video for their website, getting that up onto the branded YouTube channel, then do-it-yourself video for Facebook and Instagram, create Instagram stories and story highlights based on your content themes on Instagram, and then use new social video functionality like Instagram Reels and create guides available to us which is great for tourism operators. The 5th trend is about podcasts. So I'm sure that many of you listening in now consume fantastic information through podcasts. It's become the fastest growing on-demand audio in Australia over the last few years, and I expect that that's in many other places as well. And I encourage destinations and businesses collaboratively to think about what the opportunities could be to have their destination represented on podcast platforms because people are looking for interesting content. Anyone who's attracting the drive market, it's a great opportunity for people to be able to learn about a destination whilst they're driving. And when you go on to, say, Apple's podcast platform or others that you might use, do a search. Go and do a search for your destination and see what you can find. Now, Hay is an outback destination in New South Wales and Australia, and I was presenting some online workshops for them. Did this exercise. What did we find? We found an amazing podcast about the history of, as part of the Second World War, and Japanese people being interned in Hay. It's an amazing podcast with that history, which makes you think about Hay. And if you are in that drive market in New South Wales, it encourages your interest and motivation to visit this place and to see the museum and see what was there. But of course, podcasts are presented in such creative ways, aren't they? With interviews with people. So it really brings to life the story. So I would love people listening to this to think about, for your destination, what are the opportunities for podcasts? Is it about the artists in your area? Is it about events? Is it fabulous stories about locals or history or visitors to your destination? How can you collaborate in your region to create podcasts? And then what do you think the benefits would be beyond the economic and marketing benefit from capturing these stories? Think about the cultural and historic benefit that comes from it. My sixth trend is about paying for eyeballs. Now, because of the massive algorithm changes in the way that Facebook, and Facebook, as you know, owns Instagram as well, the way that Facebook presents content to users, it has certainly reduced our reach and engagement over the last 2+ years. And we're hearing this consistently from tourism operators that used to enjoy quite good, steady, organic growth in followers and higher levels of engagement than what they are now. And that's just reality, that's what's occurred. That major algorithm change in beginning of 2019, what it essentially meant was that Facebook business pages, they automatically, anything they posted got less exposure or was seen on less news feeds. And how the algorithm changed significantly was that when a post was made, if a conversation was triggered on it, so people started to comment on it, that was the highest ranking trigger that caused the algorithm to show it to more people. So it was creating that conversation. So that meant that if your posts are fairly passive and they don't, then that doesn't serve you well. And it means that tourism businesses start to spin their wheels, feel like they're wasting their time. So that's why being strategic, as we've heard about with social media, and really identifying what content themes you are going to post based on your persona or your avatar of your ideal audience is really important to do, and to use video and use different forms of posts and to have a mix of posts, but be consistent with your content themes and be consistent with how often you post. So that's sort of some of the strategic aspects. But what it also means, and of course what Mark Zuckerberg didn't say at the beginning of 2019 when he did his media releases on the big algorithm changes, the subtext here is about paying for eyeballs. How do you use these platforms then to benefit your business and your destination and grow awareness and get people to see the campaigns that you are running? You need to do ad campaigns. And you'll do ad campaigns to grow the reach on your content, to drive traffic to your website, to get more of your target market, and to essentially feed your trust funnel. So this concept of bringing people into the top of a funnel and bringing them through over time through presenting different content to them to eventually, hopefully, be able to get them as a customer of yours, or at least interested enough in you that they're prepared to let you put them onto your email database to be able to present relevant content to them. So we have to start to move the industry's marketing knowledge to here about this concept of bringing people through a funnel. And that's a big ask, I think, for small businesses. And we, as people who support the industry, yourselves in government, need to understand some of these concepts so that people who are supporting industry on the ground can help them get the fundamentals right of their digital presence, but start to move them along an understanding of what marketing in the digital age looks like. So we're nurturing our leads to grow trust, to bring them through awareness, interest, and eventually to a sale. So the opportunities, first thing is get that online presence foundations to a quality level first. So we're talking about having a good website that meets the needs of our ideal customers, and it has good search engine optimization on it, can be found in Google. You have a good Google online, good Google My Business listing. You're responding to reviews on all review platforms, and you've got the basics of your social media presence set up well, and you are posting consistently, have a bit of a strategy around your organic work. And you have a customer database so that you are ready to be able to move to this next stage. Understand your customer segments so you can target market, because you're not marketing to everybody. You'll just be wasting your money. So you need to understand them so that you can experiment with going after audiences in your ad campaigns. And it is a long haul thing. You know, a lot of small businesses will never start doing Facebook ads on their own. They will go to an agency who will help them through the process and teach them about it. They might be able to continue on their own then, but it is a very technical area and there's a lot of trial and error. Yes, the Facebook ads platform and Google ads are very good at sort of helping to find you the right audiences, but getting the audience right, getting the messaging right, getting the content of the ad right, it's all a learning curve. Skill yourself in the basics of Facebook and Instagram ads, and your website needs to be lead funnel ready, which means when people come to that landing page or come to your website, they're going to be enticed to stay with you, download content from you, or take that call to action that you're encouraging them to take. My last trend I wanted to talk to that there is a lot of growth in is online chat. Now, you and I, listening into this, no doubt have used online chat on websites, have used Facebook Messenger. Over 1 billion Facebook messages a month by consumers to businesses, so it's a big growth area on Facebook. And you ask any Facebook business page owner, are they getting messages on Facebook? The answer is yes. Unfortunately, quite often what they say after that, oh, it's a real pain. I have to respond to them. I don't want to, like, oh dear, But this is what customers want. This is what people want. 53% of users report that they're more likely to shop with a business where they can use a chat app. They don't want to pick up the phone. Most of the activity that is happening online by our customers is on mobile. But they don't want to ring you. They just want a quick response. They want to stay on the mobile device, be looking at other things while they're waiting for you to respond, and they need that automatic response. So we as an industry, and we're supporting the industry, need to encourage our tourism industry to move with the times and to accept this as the same thing as somebody doing an inquiry form or phoning you in your business. And if you don't, there is a good chance that it will be a missed opportunity. And we have got outstanding feedback from tourism businesses who have implemented online chat on their website, and it has been a game changer in terms of conversion on their website when they have paid attention to it and been responding to people's inquiries on that online chat. The conversion on their website has gone up at a really great level. So takeouts from this is, I'm sure that all your businesses in your locations have done this, but make sure they've got their Facebook messages turned on, and that you guide them to go into the settings on their Facebook page and set up automated responses, because what that does is it prompts engagement with people on their Facebook page. So it starts to allow for us to use Facebook as more of an engagement and customer servicing platform rather than being obsessed with it for just posting information out. So automated responses would be taking the most frequently asked questions that people ask and then having them available there for people to click on, and then spinning back to them the automated response that might solve their problem. It could take them to a specific page on the operator's website to get more information, but hopefully it keeps them moving through that journey of trust. And then also implementing on an online chat plugin on their website. Now, just about any modern website platform will have a facility to do that. If they're on WordPress website, there are many online chat plugins for that. Yes, you can also take the online chat widget of Facebook and put it onto a website. It's a rudimentary solution, but it's not a bad place to start for businesses because it's free and it gets that functionality onto their website. They can always set in Facebook or the online chat plugin an away message, and they can have, they can come back in first thing in the morning and answer. And most people are understanding of that you're not going to be available every moment of the day and night, but at least you're capturing those messages and they're not being lost. Lastly, just a final point to leave people with that we can all do, and we should all do, is we should all be sharing local experiences. So what is it that is beautiful about the destination that we live in or we are visiting, and share those online. Use the hashtags for your destination. When you follow businesses who have Instagram and Facebook accounts, and follow them, comment and share when they post, so help them with their engagement. But everyone do our bit to help the destinations that we are in, to be able to expose the beautiful experiences that they offer. So that's it from me, Stephen. I'll stop sharing there, and happy to be part of any further conversation now.
Thanks for that, Liz. That was a fantastic overview. I've been madly scratching up a summary. It's almost like this chart of steps to go through to effectively build this journey that they need to. One question that popped out into my head that I get this question quite a lot, talking with particularly smaller operators dealing with social media for the first time or without being particularly professional in their own way. The question is what to do with trolls. So, you build up your website, you're getting fantastic sort of stories going, and you've invited people to be able to connect with you, and you get these people that somehow want to interrupt that conversation. It's a strange question, but I just thought I'd throw it to you. Do you have any answers?
I've spoken to a couple of, interestingly, I don't think they were tourism businesses, but other small businesses who've experienced this. And what I've noted is that they were doing well. Okay, so that, as you say, they were doing well. They were putting themselves out there. They were talking about the good things that they were doing. And then there's been this sabotage which has come in. And yes, they can do, a certain amount, like blocking those people from being able to post, comment on their posts, for example. It doesn't stop people sabotaging from outside. And I think that this is where it really comes into play, the loyalty of your audience. And almost even saying to, you know, like, and this is where we've got to see, I think this is a really important concept, and I mentioned it in my presentation, is shifting our mindset from seeing it as a free marketing platform. Yeah, to a certain extent it is. It's about telling our brand story. But I actually don't, if you just think that way, it's not going to work for you. You have to see it as a conversation with your audience and giving them content of value and inviting them to contribute to the conversation. So asking them questions and, you know, just really inviting that engagement, because that it's building that loyalty that then they will protect you, you know, and they will advocate for you and they will drown out the other voice. So it's a little bit, you know, besides blocking those accounts from being able to comment, etc., it's about using social in a different way and seeing it as a conversation platform with your audience as opposed to a marketing platform. Same goes with online reviews. I'll probably hear this one a lot more often from tourism operators is, I'm sure, you know, that review, I'm sure that's a fake review. I've contacted Google, I've contacted TripAdvisor. They won't take it down, even though I've done this, this, and this, and this. They're never going to win that battle. However, if they do best practice, which every tourism business should be doing, and they are asking all of their customers for them to, well, all of the happy customers to leave a review, inviting them to do that and have processes to do that. And that can be as simple as, I'm engaging with customer here as a host, and they say, I'm loving this. You say, look, we really need to build up our online reviews. Honesty, we had a rubbish fake review. Anything you can do to help us. Or we've been in hiatus. We've hibernated our business for the last 6 months because of COVID. We really need to build our online reputation again. Would you please leave us a review? It would really help. And then it's your post-stay emails. It's giving them a feedback card as you're checking them out. All of these things contribute to building fresh online reviews. You respond to them all. And that helps, it just nullifies and pushes it down. So you get the positive voice to be much louder and more recent and more frequent than the negative voice.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic advice. And, you know, you mentioned there one of my favorite things, which is have your believers, your customers do the work for you. So if you get them engaged, they will effectively push the bad stuff out of the way. So it can be very difficult to stop sometimes that type of content. But
it's
on the whole,
online world. It's the online world. You know, the other benefit of the online world is as a tourism operator, I can go and look at how another tourism operator in my or another destination or a similar sector to me is marketing themselves. I can see what they're offering. I can see what people are saying about their business in their reviews. It's incredible transparency. So there's a real positive to that as well, because if I'm looking to pivot my business or reshape my product into packages, I can go do all the research. I can even see what people are charging for it, you know. So it's fantastic.
And look, I suppose the final thing about that is that consumers, you and I, they're smart. They're just like everyone else. They can actually see what's real, and that's where the authenticity comes back to it. It's very hard to trick people into believing something that just doesn't make sense. And it really is about this incredible value of seeing our customers as our friends, our community, our partners. It's definitely the essential way that MSMEs work.
Yeah, I think Michael said this, and I apologise. I kept trying to find sorry, Michael, I kept trying to find your first name in my head, and I haven't had enough coffee today when I was referring to your presentation. But it's so, sorry about that. It's so, and you said it too, Stephen, that it's so driven by experience anyway. You know, as a small or micro business, and I've seen this again and again, if they deliver a fantastic experience, it takes the pressure off their need for marketing.
Yeah.
It really does, because the consumer voice becomes so loud. They just need to enable it. So they need to invite the reviews. They need to put their hashtag everywhere so people use it. They need to maybe do a bit of sharing of their customer content, but it takes the pressure off their marketing. And that's where true organic communication and marketing really starts to work for them, because they're focused on the experiences that they're offering. I'm not saying they don't do any marketing, but it tips the balance, and the consumer voice is so loud. So despite all the changes that happen in technology and upcoming changes, GDPR and not being able to retarget and things that we were talking about yesterday, we can't control any of that. What can we control? We can control the experience, the customer service, the culture in our business, our own website, and making sure that is a fantastic website. And, you know, that focus on what we can control is what we should do.
So look, I'm going to have to wrap it up because we've reached that time of the day, but I'd love to extend a really warm thank you to both yourself, Ms. Liz Ward, and Mr. Michael Simonetti for coming on today and sharing this fantastic stuff with us. Here is my quick little summary. It's pretty quick, but I would argue that probably, I might just position it, it's a bit hard to read on such a small screen, but yeah, look, I like the concept that we've got some fundamental steps. Fundamental steps are website, Google My Business. Get those going as your first things, start to get your SEO working, and then most importantly, post consistently and have one hashtag. Then we talked so much today about storytelling, the authentic journey, warming them up, building a relationship, tracking their journey, and most importantly, love that comment from Michael, standing out emotionally. Then we get to say, well, what do we do with this content? We shift our content to a one-to-one relationship on social media, which was Liz's point. How do you do that? You do that by Instagram stories, by reels and guides through there, and by creating different ways for people to engage with you. Point was made about creating quality videos, being able to edit and reuse video content across platforms, maybe explore podcasts. That's you know, it is a fantastic way of getting people to be able to hear your content whilst they're doing something else. And finally, that lead funnel ready or call to action concept. What is the outcome that you're wanting? If you don't know what that outcome is going to be before you get there, you probably won't get it. So great to know exactly what it is. And the final thing I have to finish with is sharing local. This works right across APEC economies. At the moment, people can't travel in the way that they used to. Local experiences become even more important. So I'd like to, I'd like to just draw this event to a bit of a close, and I'd like to thank our other presenters from today, Carly Clark, Fabienne Wintle, Serena, Eldridge, and Madelene Blaer, for their fantastic content that we had earlier on. The content will also be available on our workshop webpage as supported by the APEC Study Centre. I'd also like to especially thank Australia's Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, DFAT, and Ms. Ruth Sears and the APEC Tourism's Working Group. And just give you a very quick overview of tomorrow, because we have one more session, one more workshop to go tomorrow, which is, although the content we've been looking at so far largely explores content from Australia, tomorrow we'll have a focus on a wider exploration across APEC economies. In this final session, we'll refocus on the bigger picture, taking into account high-level viewpoint from a range of economies and their supporting tourism bodies. Case studies, statistics and analytics with a focus on cross-border cooperation, more conversation on data security and privacy, and digital inclusion over the many different demographic, geographical regions and Indigenous groups that make up APEC. So thank you very much everyone for coming today, and I look forward to seeing everyone tomorrow. Regards.